organizational growth and drives what we call performance. So let's hear from the leader of the industry herself. We have Ms. Diana Fernandez, the leader of Business Development and Alliances India. Please, if you would join me.
Good evening, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all here, represent the partnership of our brand Groha with LWL, Ladies Who Lead. Let me start by thanking the LWL team for bringing together achievers like yourself to build intellectual property here. Under the property of Groha Intellect, we are glad to initiate thought starters, stir up conversations, conduct workshops, and evolve together as a community. You must be wondering why Groha, a luxury bathroom fitting brand, has partnered with LWL on this journey to celebrate women's. Let me explain a little. Groha as a brand has something embedded in its DNA, which we believe is a common vision we share with LWL, that is performance. I'm glad to get an opportunity to honor the efforts of deserving women from each of the processes who have been consistent with their performances in their perfective work areas. And before I make a move, it gives me immense joy in welcoming our leader women architects from Mumbai. Though we have few right now, but we have many more coming in, who are also present between us here. Their commitment, dedication, and steadfast support towards our brand matters a lot to us. Welcome to you all, powerful ladies in the house today. I look forward of having insightful evening with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. You can just... Thank you. For those of us who are not familiar, Ladies Who Lead was founded by Abha Bakaya. It's a members-only leadership and learning platform for professional women. We provide curated learning experiences and resources designed to foster both personal and professional growth. Currently, we're a thriving platform with more than 850 members across 4 cities and represent more than 30 industries together. Together, we are co-creators of a purposeful future. Today, I am thrilled to introduce our panel. We have Mehak Kasbekar, Editor-in-Chief and Vice President, Brute India; Shruti Thacker, Co-founder and Editorial Director, The Established; and Rajeshree Naik, Co-founder and Director, Ping Network. If I can invite you guys for a picture over here, please. We'll just take a picture and then move up. Thank you. Please grab a seat. I'll sit here. Thank you. So the format today is very interactive. I'm going to kick it off with a couple of questions, and then I would love to have you guys, ask yours. Our focus today is on digital media platforms and the ways in which they deliver content, how decisions are made, and challenges they face in today's landscape, both in terms of content focus and monetization. So I actually have a question that I want to ask all of you, which is how do you identify and define the content focus of your platforms while staying true to your mission? So Shruti, maybe I could start with you. You can just put it on.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, Devika. Thank you so much for the question and having me here. Could you just repeat the question, please?
So how do you define the content focus while staying true to your mission?
I think I've already had this conversation with multiple people today itself. Honestly, it's a struggle because India as a market is very different than a market in US or Europe and stuff like that, where there is enough of an audience to understand variety of, like a hype beast, a refinery 29. Whereas in India, the focus for us was always to create conversations, to be able to have topics that everyone is already discussing, but to give people like you and me and everyone else in this room something to read about that they already are thinking about, and then they can go back and have some knowledge when they talk about it with their friends and stuff like that. Keeping that mission in mind, while keeping the fact that as a publication you need to constantly grow, is always, the market is very different than what your ambitions always lie, and you can either bend to the market and do that, or you can try and create a new space. So we're trying to balance both of it right now, and let's see, like, there's always a battle in office about growth versus editorial integrity. And I think that as long as we are having that argument and that discussion, I feel like we are trying to stay as true to us, while also being mindful that if we grow, and even if we grow slowly, we're able to have conversations and people are able to come to our website and have some takeaway. So trying is the word.
And sorry, if you could just give us a brief introduction about your journey, that's for everyone as well.
I'm Shruti. When I am the editorial director, co-founder of Established, which is a digital-first publication. We take pride in doing long-form content that discusses the intersection of fashion, beauty, and culture, which means that we look at every single thing from the point of view of how one topic influences the other. For example, there is no possibility of beauty to exist if the culture of the world that we live in didn't exist. For example, entertainment influences the way you get Botox or lip fillers and stuff like that. In terms of fashion, we don't focus on trends, or we don't tell you what to shop and stuff like that. Instead, we talk about, why there is suddenly a surge of people wearing traditional crafts. Why are people wearing more homegrown brands? Why are homegrown brands more expensive nowadays and stuff like that? So that's who we are. I do come with a history of, digital media. I've been in the industry for 15 plus years. I was with Vogue, Vogue Arabia, all of that. So I'm trying to take my learnings and build something that, slightly has a different voice, has a different perspective for everyone to find out and see, if we can all grow collectively in it.
Thank you. Mehak, if you could give us a little introduction and then get into the conversation of the content focus. You just have to hold it. I think this one is on.
Can you hear me? Yes. Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me here. I'm Mehak Kasbekar. I'm the editor-in-chief and vice president for Brut India. I've been with them since inception. Brut, for those of you who don't know, is a digital-first, social-first digital publisher. But in the time that we've been in India, we've grown quite ahead of what just a publisher does. And hopefully when we talk more about it, I'd be happy to do this thing. Our TG is, of course, young people. But I think we are also relevant to across the TGs at this point in time. Before joining Brut, I joined Brut in 2018 and built it scratch up here in India. Before that, I was a television journalist, business television journalist for 15 years. So I started my career with Reuters, and then I was with CNBC, TV18 for about 8 years. I helped set up Bloomberg Television here in India as well, was part of Mint's first digital newsroom, integrated digital newsroom, which was in 2011, which was way ahead of anything digital at that point in time happening in media. And now I'm here with the Brut, and I lead both the business and the editorial for it.
Thank you.
Introduction and then
Yeah.
jump into the answer.
I think you just have to hold. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm Rajeshree Naik. I feel a bit like a dinosaur here because my company is about 11 years old. So we are a battered digital media first company. And when we started 11 years ago, introduction on me, I'd like to say I'm the co-founder I'm the admin, I'm the HR, I'm the content lead. Every day it's a different role, the business head, the founder, sometimes just the person bringing coffee to our guests in the office. So I think that's the role of anyone who's an entrepreneur. Every day it's a different role. In terms of, so that's really about me. Before I became an entrepreneur and I started and I became part of the founding team at Ping Network, I was heading marketing at De Beers. So I was from the diamond world. It was a world of luxury, and then I got thrown into a world where I could not wear heels because there was oil in our industrial area, because there was a printing press and a lot of textile companies. So it was a big shift. I was about 7-8 years at De Beers. Before that, I was an out-and-out agency girl. I used to be with JWT. And I did a lot of, so brand communication, marketing was always my thing. I'm a mum to a 7-year-old who turns 8 this month. And yeah, that's pretty much me. Otherwise, my career and all has been in Bombay. The schooling has been in Panchkani. Anyone from Panchkani? I love that place, so that would be, yeah.
So I think what we were sort of talking about is how you identify and define the content focus of your platform while staying true to your mission and vision of the brand.
Okay, I'll make an honest admission. As an entrepreneur, you're true some days, you're not true some days. And that's a fact of life. We all have this, unless you're funded by somebody or it's your own funding or something, it is very unlikely you will not come at points in time when you know what you're doing is not what you want to do, but you do it. Now I should be careful what I say. But for example, yeah, closed doors. For example, one of my biggest campaigns we did was for Kisan, where we did 200 different recipes for 200 school days. But I did put sauce and jam in 200 kids' recipes. Okay, now I'm not sure I do that for my son, but I did do it for digital. Now, is it true, not true? Question mark. So I think, I think it's important to have a moral compass, and I think that I have kept. So when we started about 10, 11 years ago, we wanted to be the e-how of digital. Like in the sense, we believed everyone comes to the internet with a question. How do I lose weight? How do I cook this? How do I put foundation? And we wanted to be the answers online, because you have to remember this is 11 years ago when there was none of this ecosystem existed. How do you decorate your room? How do I travel, etc. And we also knew we wanted to be in video format. So 11 years ago, we believed video was the future of the internet. We knew that 90% of all traffic online would be video. And so that's when we set up a studio. We became original content creators. It so happened at that time YouTube was looking for partners, and YouTube had just entered the country who would help them scale the whole creator ecosystem. And it's funny because, so you also have to remember that was the days of AIBs, TVF. So the whole world wanted viral content, entertainment content, and we were making food. We were doing Atul Kasbekar's photography channel. We were doing Yasmin Karachiwala's fitness channel, because we believed these were all people we wanted to get online, experts online, because we believed an expert should give advice. And it was a nightmare, because a lot of them didn't see value. They were like, why should I give you my time? They didn't see. So today, all these creators or celebrities who have embraced digital media and now will do anything for it, from dance on reels to everything, would throw up a fuss for content that we wanted to create with them, where we were investing. So it's been a huge journey. And I think we stayed true to the fact that whatever we wanted to do should have utility, information, and knowledge at its core. So that's one thing we stayed true. We've never done content which was clickbaity. That was not our thing. And it also worked for us because, again, I was just telling one of the co-panelists, I had one of the very big comedy creators at a panel once telling me, you guys are so lucky, your pickle videos 10 years later is also going to make money for you, but our comedy is exactly 1 week old, which is absolutely true. Our oldest videos still make us the most money. So in many ways, I think, and what happened is when we began, we said we wanted to be this e-how, right? If anyone's familiar with that, in video format. And we wanted to do it across utility, information, knowledge verticals. I can't tell you the kind. We've done tech. We had this Ankit Fadia. We had his tech channel. We did... so many. You know, we did indie music. We had India Food Network. We had India Music Network. But what we realized is that we were spreading ourselves too thin. So we said, let's focus on one vertical, become big in it, learn all our lessons, and then move. And that's how we stuck with food. Luckily for us, you can't get too dishonest with food. I mean, it is, so we run something called India Food Network. We run something called Taste Made in India. We have something called Start to Bake. We have a partnership with India's biggest food creator where we have a D2C brand called Kabita's Kitchen. So if anyone's familiar with Kabita's Kitchen, we co-own a spice brand with her. So I like to believe that luckily for us, the area we spoke allowed us to stay true. And just the last thing, so, you know, when we began, so one of the part of the founding team, someone you may have worked with, Govind Raj was a journalist. So at that time, news was also something we went after. But we wanted to be the Vice of India. Trump then pushed us to a corner where we became about fact-checking and misinformation. So then we set up a brand called Boom Live, which only does fact-checking and misinformation. That company is now, it's now a separate company because we had to keep distance between both these things. So I'm a director on that, but I don't actively manage that business. Again I like to believe we've stayed true. So in many ways, for all the food content that we're doing, somewhere we're also doing a lot of things that we hope is what democracies need today. So yeah, that's our journey and that's our story.
Thank you.
How do we say true to content, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is working? You guys can hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
great. I think we're very lucky to be doing digital at a time where you also have communities which are your sounding board. So let me just tell you what I mean by that. I think if you get it right from the beginning in terms of that, if you build a community which is, sorry.
We'll just change the mic. Hello.
So what I was saying is that if you build a community, and at least that's true for Brute, we were very clear that we wanted to build a community which is intelligent, which wants to interact, and I think that's the whole fun of digital, right? It's 360 degrees. What I mean by that is, on television you put out content and it's just sort of passive consumption. You don't know what people are thinking about it, what are they talking about it. But in digital it's pretty instant. You know what you're getting, how people are communicating, what are the nuances that you're putting out, are they getting that or not. So I think you have to stay true to what you do. Because if you build a really intelligent community, let's talk about the community here. We have like intelligent women who build their own businesses, or our leaders who are doing what they do. So if I am going to sit here and, I mean, you'll be able to smell a rat from a mile away. It's the same thing in digital. If you are true to what you do, I think that's your sounding board. It forces you to maybe at times even course correct in case, you have that. The other bit which I think is on, which has at least helped me and us at Brute to stay true is you have to constantly, try out, constantly be a democratic setup where you have a safe space where you're getting that information out. So for example, if we are thinking of a really serious political topic, for example, or it could be something which falls into the meme space, we always check with the youngest person. Do you think this is relevant? What about this story is exciting to you? what about this information do you know? Because we come with so much of sort of what you think news should be or information should be would be completely different from what young people or what is out there, and they would want to tell that story in a particular way. So I think that is it. Talking about brands, you know, everybody touched upon it. I think that's why brands come to us as well. They want us to sort of, you know, tell that story in a way which is authentic. It's definitely difficult with everything which is there, but I think at least for now, I think we are getting that right. And because you have a 360-degree community that keeps you, you know, aligned to what we do.
Thank you. I wanted to see if anyone had any questions. We'd love to take. Yeah, we'll just get you a mic.
Hello. I have multiple questions for everybody. My name is Benita, and I have been in the space of social media consulting for a decade now. We manage social media for B2B companies, so that's where we set ourselves apart. Obviously, Hello, hello. So, one question for you and one for you. And Surabhi, I will certainly be asking you something as we progress. Sorry, Shruti. So, Rajeshree, you mentioned that you do a lot of collaboration with YouTube. And in collaboration, you've done a lot of these video channels or for lack of better word, video channels. And you mentioned that your oldest videos are the ones that are monetized the most. So from that learning, that curve, what is your key takeaway in how somebody can monetize, and particularly in context of brands monetizing it? Because individual creators are doing it, but can brands really monetize, and what are your key takeaways from that? And I do have a question for you as well. Can I ask both the questions or should I wait? My question for you is in context of the community. As a B2B marketer, we also try to build communities. And so I would love to have your lessons learned, mistakes made. I strongly believe that mistakes are the best way to learn anything. So if you can share some insights into when you're in the process of building a community, things to do or not do. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I think what I didn't explain is our partnership with YouTube. I don't know, anyone knows what's a MCN or a multi? Okay, so no, multi-channel network. So when YouTube entered the country, they entered into a partnership with about 6 or 7 of us, where we have access to a content management system. So today, as Ping Network, we run about 250 plus YouTube channels. So that's a very large bottom of the funnel kind of work that we do in the digital space as their partners. And we also create original content of our own, which is as our own publishers. So that's the second part. So to answer this question on, so let me take, for example, I understand there are some architects in the room, right? Or that's a core part of the audience. So one is, okay, when I look at the food space, it is a fact when you're searching, because that's how algorithms work. The older, suppose you search for a gulab jamun recipe, you will get the oldest content that has performed well, that has the most comments. And the older you are online, the higher your search rankings is, and that's how you get clicked through. This is not to say that new stuff doesn't get surfaced. For example, if you've created a video and it's had a certain impetus on uploading, it will surface. And then if you see, that's also behavioral, right? People are looking at all the videos, they're looking at pictures of the dish, then they're looking at who's created and doing it. Now, when you look at B2B clients, like if I look at, say, architectural firms, or if I look at any B2B clients, a lot of the content you're doing is utilitarian in nature. right? So for example, if I was to look at, say, 5 ways to make your bathroom like a spa, or something like that. Now this content is not going to trend immediately, it's not going to surface immediately, but it's literally part of the 20 questions you will find people are looking for. So in many ways, I think, and now coming to your question of how can a brand monetize it. Now I think this is a very dicey question, and I've had this conversation with many brands. All brands got excited about the fact that they could be their own publishers. But you have to remember, you will not see money for a long time. When a brand doesn't see that kind of money, they will be wondering, I'm spending so much on this department, there is no money, what the heck am I doing? Whereas a publisher will suffer for a long time before we kill ourselves, right? I mean, we will keep waiting, and that inflection point will come. A brand does not have that patience. So I really think even as a brand, you have to understand, do you have the ambition of a publisher? Do you believe that being a publisher is going to do a lot for you? For example, in a space that is close to you all, or who I believe the audience is, Asian Paints has done a brilliant job of being a publisher. What they have done is they have done hero content, which is going into film stars' homes and showcasing their homes. They have done very utilitarian content, like what is the vastu, what colors do you use, etc. I think they have pivoted very well to be to a brand, but I think they were willing to invest that kind of money and they stayed true to it. I do know those IPs they've created cost them a lot of money, but I think they've seen what it's done to their image. So my only advice is that when brands choose to be a publisher, you have to understand what's the objective. Am I going to acquire more customers? Am I going to have customers engaged with me more? If the objective is to make money, I would say you're never going to make as much money as from your core business. So don't waste your time. So monetization for a brand should not be the objective. The objective is customer acquisition, the objective is engagement, and that engagement is helping translate into your real business. If everyone becomes a publisher, it's like today, that's the biggest problem. Everyone is a creator. Who is going to listen? Everyone is a podcaster. Who is going to listen to all the podcasts? I have no clue, because everyone wants a podcast. So I think it's also one, I'm a little harsh, but I don't know, I think we all believe everybody wants to listen to us. We all believe we have lots of wisdom to give, but we don't want to listen to anybody, you know.
On building a community, right? Okay, so that's all. It makes sense. Building a community. So I think I won't give away too many secrets, but some I can. Okay, so I think it's important for the content that you put out, whether it's B2B or B2C, when you're putting it out. It's very important on what is the engagement point that you're going for. So a lot of times we look at content on social media as for virality, you know, or topicality. I mean, that's what usually you would go for, and then you sort of give it your own flavor. But I think what you miss out on in terms of building a community is, what are you going to value add through this? Or how are you going to make the people who are watching this care enough about something, care enough to engage with your content? Care enough to drop a comment on it, care enough to put a thumbs up or a thumbs down on it, care enough to share it. I think that thought has to come in from the very beginning when you're thinking of that content, which is the engagement point. And is that engagement point going to be constructive? Can you think of how this can build a community? Can you get people to engage with it, talk about it, so that there's more coming out of it, and have an intelligent conversation? That's the whole point, you know, of doing this on social media, of building that community on social media. So I think when you're putting that out there, other than the topicality, everything else that you're looking at, the aesthetics, I think it's important to think about what is the engagement that I want on this. Is it about I don't know, I mean, you know, is it about a particular technology that you're bringing, you know, to the forefront? then you should have that point in it as well, and give that space for people, intelligent people, to come in and talk about it. So I think that's one way, I would say. And the second way is to constantly go back and look at that feedback. I mean, I don't think I've stopped doing it from the first day that we put out the first video at Brute. Till date, everything that I put out, I think I read all the comments which are on it. They are a good sounding board. I also know how that audience is changing. I also have audience that has grown up with us in 5 years, from those who are maybe 18, now into their early 20s, those who are probably 30 and started watching us, and how that has grown as well. Because we can't get away with putting out the same thing that we did earlier, because now they're more intelligent. They know, because we've educated them on it, and we've built that accordingly. So I think hopefully that answers your question on building a community.
And actually, I had one for Shruti, and to appeal to your experience in the world of digital media. We have a lot of business owners in the crowd, and how would you sort of recommend to them, they're not always familiar with new media and expressing themselves and telling their brand stories online. So what sorts of tips and ideas would you recommend to them to take their brand story forward in a way that is different and that does cut through the clutter online?
I love the example you gave of Asian Paints. I think when brands think about putting out content to promote themselves or anything, I think they forget the aspect of storytelling. Because the thing is, it's very easy to create a marketing campaign that is looks like an ad, feels like an ad thing. But the customer is much more smarter than that. They know that, okay, on YouTube, no one's watching that, they're all waiting before they can skip ad, right? No one is watching an ad like that. So when you're creating content for your Instagram, for your website, for whatever it is, you need to think what you're selling, as much as you might not like to hear, sometimes comes secondary. You need to package it in a way that appeals to the audience, because once you can engage that audience, once you've got that audience to come back to you again and again, then they'll be like, oh, okay, so this is also the part of them, this is what they're talking about, and they will want to then engage with you as a brand. And then once you've got them engaged, they'll remain loyal to you, no matter how, you might put up a promotional post after that and they'll be like, that's okay, I like what they do otherwise as well. So I think brands also need to sometimes think from the point of view that if I want to grow this community that I can tap into, I need to think like a member of this community. I need to think what I enjoy reading. And it's not going to come easy, because obviously for you to sell your product, your whatever, is going to be your first priority. But would you, if someone came to you and knocked on your door and forced you to buy something, would you buy it? No. It's kind of the similar with digital. It's not a hard sell. You have to kind of, get them interested in you, tell your story, and then you can do whatever you want and they will listen to you. So that's what I feel people get wrong about new media.
Yeah, please.
I think by sheer fact of being so battered, I can always be very brutal and not honest. I mean, very honest. So one is, I honestly think community is highly abused a word. Let me ask all of you. All of you have watched something on Instagram today? Something, whatever you all follow. Yeah. How many of you have commented on it? Okay. How many of you have followed something that you saw, but you followed it? Today. Like, suppose you saw an interesting piece of, before you decide to follow a brand, how often do you need to see that content from that person before you decide to give your follow? Because everyone has now realized the currency of the follow. I will also tell you some dirty tricks of the digital world, okay? And why am I saying it as an entrepreneur? I feel every entrepreneur needs to know it, because entrepreneurs are putting money in digital, right? I hope no one ever comes after me for this. But let me tell you, for example, the mothering space is the most abused. There are about 200 mother influencers who have a WhatsApp group, and there's an underwritten rule. When I do a brand collab, all of you like, comments, talk about it. Yeah. you will never see real mothers commenting. What you will end up seeing is, and it's so easy, I see food creators. I know the team who's worked on it is the one who are commenting, nobody else is commenting, okay? And a lot of times what brands do is put a premium on these comments. And unfortunately, they don't have the bandwidth or the ability to dig deeper into that. I have always, like for example, I'll be very honest, we are not very large. We're about, I think overall community across multiple platforms, about 3 to 4 million. But the point is, it's always grown organically by itself. And often enough, my videos is very disappointing for my production team because they don't see any comments. And I tell them, you tell me, when did you last comment? Okay, so even this community, what is great about, say, Ladies Who Lead is that I think this online community is opaque. We think it's a community, but we don't know them at all. This is what is community. When you can, and so I think as brand owners, when you create online communities, make sure you do things in the offline world, because you don't need 1 million followers who are your community. You need 10,000 ambassadors who you are connecting with strongly, who are then your who are your ambassadors. So I think things like this offline thing has a huge
So we're
power.
taking the digital media verse offline this session.
Because I'm telling you, I'm battered. I have seen it. I think I assure you, you try and get your Instagram followers to attend your event. It's not going to happen. You have to have a database of people that you are leaning on. So I really think, a lot of times we get so taken in by this online community, we forget that finally they need to have which is also the scary future, right? With the Vision Pro, where with so many things that are happening, again with AI, I can create 10 AI comments on one post. So this is my only thing as brand owners. When you think community, just be very careful what you all are.
Speaking of community, can I add to that, please? I do agree with you that community is the most abused word in online, but I think the younger generation thinks very differently. I think the younger generation wants to feel engaged. They want to feel that there is someone else who's thinking exactly like them. So I've been doing digital media for over 15 years, right? And I've done it across different publications. I know for a fact a Vogue won't get a comment that is positive, but I know for a fact that Brute or an established does get comments because people invest in it. Yeah. And the thing is, the younger community, what happens is, and I've seen this with my own personal account, I will put up an Insta story of me going for an event and stuff like that. Yes, 10 people out of that will come and land up because they read it online. When we did our topics conversation, people were like, oh, we found out because so and so posted on it and stuff like that. So I think the word community we use in the digital sense of it, previously it was about targeting someone to send ads. I think now what has happened is community buildings come into place where you are like, okay, this is my target audience, sure, but how am I engaging with them? Am I creating something that there's value add? And I think that value add is what, whether you want to turn that into an offline thing, whether you want to turn it into e-commerce, whether you want to turn it into anything, that is there because the generation is only grown up on the internet. They do not understand offline. And I'm sorry to say, like, even right now, you don't see a Gen Z sitting here, right? And Gen Zs are entrepreneurs right now. But so one out of them, right? So that's the thing, right? Like, I know for a fact when she was nodding about online and stuff like that, because she probably communicates with everyone online. Our lives are online now, so community building has to go online.
And I think this is a great example of how diverse our LWL panels are, because there's different opinions, because everyone's an expert of their domain, and I love this discourse here. But we do have a question. And she's been waiting very patiently, but it came up during, and I don't want to miss the relevance of it.
Yeah, hi. No problem. Sorry, I'm standing because I just want to thank you guys for having us here. This is my first LWL event.
I've been a member for over a year, but I live away from India. I live in Japan actually, and I've been helping brands grow in Japan. But I really like how I'm relating with her so much about content and relevance and everything. So before I come to my question for the panelists, because they are clearly experts, I want to tell people who are owners of brands and are thinking of sort of engaging with social media agencies or any agencies, any vendors. Come back. I just want to tell you there is no such thing as a bad vendor, bad agency, or there is only something called as guidance or lack thereof. Either you are guiding how your thought clarity is. So whatever business you are all in, be it a candle, be it a B2B, be it a manufacturing equipment, import, export, remember your persona. Because these people are facilitators who will increase your brand awareness and they will help you make the decision and all that. But you only know your business, and anytime I have also scaled a business internationally, I've remembered the brand persona. If I'm selling education, the idea of education, I'm going to talk to a family. I'm not going to talk to individuals. So spend enough money on your persona finding, and then you can guide your agencies, your facilitators onto finding that right market so that they find it's relevant, be it anonymous with Shuddhata because of years of cultivating that trust. But for brands, it's becoming a little difficult to cultivate a long-term trust, long-term follower, long-term loyalty. And I'm really keen on hearing your thoughts about, if I'm sure every business is thinking, not the first-time customer, the repeat customer. Because you want somebody to keep buying your product until they die, until they pass on to their families, the way our mothers did, grandmothers did. How are you looking at cultivating brand loyalty for your brands, for your customers? And in fact, anybody who's successfully done it, I'm all ears. Because LWL itself is doing it quite nicely. They're bringing people, out of our homes and out here. So this is also kind of loyalty towards each other, what we owe. So yeah, thank you for allowing me to speak so much. So thank you.
So I think I don't know how many people I'm going to make happy, how many I'm going to make unhappy. Another very controversial, lead generation is the worst way to get business. It is the absolutely worst way. Because the way the algorithms work is that they are targeting the person, and usually if you see most lead generation, it is towards a price point, a discount, offer. When a consumer makes her mind, she's making it for that discount, she's making it for that moment, she is not making it for the brand. So what tends to happen with a lot of lead gen campaigns is that the decision is being made for a transaction, and that transaction can come from anybody, they don't care. And I feel that is why I'm a big believer in old world style brand building. If Coca-Cola was just a digital brand, I don't think it would be what it is today. All of these brands have been built in the universe. And I know I keep saying my business is on digital. I am selling on digital. I'm creating content on digital. Everything is on digital. But I am such a believer in the possibilities of the physical world. And to ignore it, if anyone has The Economist, please read the latest Economist today, which is just out yesterday. The cover story is a picture of the globe, a Gen Z or Gen Alpha, whatever you want to say, on their phone, all alone. And so the question is, where is the community then? When you have today digital media isolating, and it's quite tragic, right? Because what we're doing is we're sitting in a group of people and we're all consuming our content. We're supposed to be part of a community, but we're not, we're all seeing our own stuff. So I think what brands, so to answer your question of, so my thing is to acquire customers, it is not lead gen. Build a brand, build a voice, let them like you enough, and it is a long game. One article is not going to make them follow you. It is a long game. They have to see you consistently, which is also why don't fall for the trap of clickbait. Because again, the minute they've said, oh, this brand is so amazing, it talks my voice, and then they see you doing some airport look, or they see you doing some random stuff, they'll be like, oh, okay, this is not what I thought it was. So I think the patience to stay true to your voice is critical, and you will find your tribe. What I do believe that digital is actually a place for tribes. It's a place for people with common mindsets coming to follow a brand, and that's what I think so.
Sorry. So, I mean, I think from a brand, maybe Brute is a bit different. So, I'm not from building a brand in terms of from a founder that perspective. Um, Maybe I can just add two things to it. The first is, uh, all of you are entrepreneurs. So obviously, everybody knows their products and what they are doing, and obviously, I think it's pretty well established that no matter what you do online, it cannot replace the product, right? I mean, you have to make money off the product, etc. So I'm sure each of you have a very different thing that you want online. So I think it's very important to sort of define that. Um, the bit you spoke about, that you speak to agencies or facilitators, great, you got me so many views, but what is my return on investment in terms of coming to a website, buying something, getting more orders, whatever that is. I think that is a challenge which is yet, I don't think anybody has a solution to it. But I think because of entrepreneurs like you and businesses who realize that, I think we will be seeing a lot of innovation in that space. I'm really excited about it. I think we have to throw solutions at it to see how can we, give that value addition to brands as a facilitator. So I think that conversation has moved ahead and brands have become more demanding on that bit. Um, I think those were the only, just one last thing is, I mean, because we are talking about social media largely here, I think the conversation has moved ahead also from followers. What I mean by that is because, I mean, algorithm everybody, I mean, speaks about and stuff like that, right? So the algorithm will make sure that after a point you fail.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a given.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it does. It wants newer faces, newer people to come up. So I think that's a given. And I think that changes like randomly. And I've really enjoyed beating that. So I don't think we can, so I don't know how long we'll be able to be, I mean, I don't think we all have it figured out, which I think is also interesting. So it's not really about the followers, it's about 80% of people who actually come and comment and do stuff on Root, share, etc., all of it are not followers. So I think you have to just learn how to stay relevant, and at the end of the day, that is what is good business sense, right? You have to constantly learn how to be relevant and keep beating that. I just wanted to add that.
So, like you're saying, beat that. How, we see, okay, this is viral now, this is trending. How do you stay ahead of the curve? How do you know what's going to trend? How do you innovate? How can you predict behavior?
Value addition.
Sorry?
Value addition. If I'm asking for your time, I should be worth it. If I'm asking for 5 seconds, 20 seconds, 1 minute, 7 minutes, I have to do a good job where when you're walking away from it, you've learned something, you feel empowered enough about a topic that you didn't know about, or you thought about something but now you've changed your mind because of what you put out there. So I think value addition, have I made it worth your while to stay with me with whatever piece of information that I'm putting out there, or whether it's entertainment, I'm entertaining somebody. So I think that's really important. That's why, I mean, I've noticed that you will have pieces that somebody will watch for 5 seconds, maybe it has millions of views, but your attention is about like whatever, 20 seconds on it, 30 seconds on it, 40 seconds on it, and then there'll be this one piece that you think, of course you're giving it your all to all of these pieces, but people stay with you for like 7 minutes, through it. So it just depends on how much of a value addition have you done if you're asking for people's time on social media to watch.
I think we have a question at the back.
I just wanted to address your point about community because I have worked with many global pharma companies and towards curating social media content and content on different types of channels. And one thing that is it audible or is it? Yeah. So, in my view, what you said, and I am myself very old school, you will never see me online or on Insta or commenting or following anything. But having said that, I think the world today has evolved to a very different stage where we can't go back and we can't deny its existence, because what you said possibly is true for many of the industries, but there are like in pharma, pharma companies really rely on that content. They may be only putting in a very fraction of their money marketing budget into social media content, but they can't deny it, because there have been instances where people who are unhappy with a drug, and in countries like US, which are very regulated, they post negative comments. There are other users who aggregate online, because there is no way for many diseases, many conditions, for us to connect with people physically. They aggregate
Yeah.
online. They lobby against the brands. They reach
Yes.
influential people, and there have been lawsuits raised against those pharma companies just through this aggregation. And we
Absolutely.
have personally digged into thousands of such conversations, and we have found the root cause lying.
Mindful of the the way people are commenting. This comments is an amazing thing. It's a, like, I love reading comments, because it is an entire psychographic deep dive into the population. And the worst comment, like, these airport looks, it is amazing. Not one person is talking about the clothes or whatever. I mean, it's like, it's also just indicative of how pathetic the, see, you also have to see, very rarely people are commenting for positive. The comments happen when someone wants to be nasty. So that's another very strange human psychology. It's an extremely rare instance where they want to say something nice. Let me also say, I'm not so hardened also. Luckily, I'm in food, so people have very sweet things to say about food. It's not, but it's just that I observe, I read, I look at all of this kind of things. But you're absolutely right, and I agree with you actually. So I believe community of 5 people with a bad drug experience can bring an entire drug company down.
Hi, my name is Kanchan, and I'm in the space of mental health and emotional well-being. And many years ago, I had a YouTube channel. Back then, I was not in this space. I was more in the space of lifestyle and culture, and I created this channel called Bombay Unbounded, where I was showcasing events like the Kala Ghoda Festival, and I had a great start. But of course, again, didn't have the patience to stay the course, and here I am today. I shifted my career to a new one, and I'm very glad I did. My question to you is in connection with what you said about how there is so much clutter in the space now. I myself, as a consumer of it, I mean, see the number of podcasts there are, the number of YouTube channels, but I also feel this inner drive to create something like show the world my unique voice, my unique viewpoint, both from a perspective of raising awareness and also monetizing, to be honest. So what would be some of your suggestions on best practices to firstly understand what is it that people are looking for, what is it that I can avoid? I mean, of course, I'd like to speak to you one-on-one also, but maybe you can even answer this at a more general level, like somebody, a new entrant at this space, how do they break the clutter? Is it, what are the ways to do it?
So let me tell you, I cannot give you more information. If you're in the area of mental health, please pursue it. There are too many people who are obsessive, like platforms are looking at it significantly. The world is a mental health case today. It honestly is. I think all of us are just, I think COVID just threw us off the cliff. It's just, and it's multiplicity, across generations. It's from young to old. So there is a space, and I assure you, I am searching for mental health YouTube channels currently for a project. I cannot find enough that is required. So please go ahead and do it, is my first. The second is, I'll also talk to you from a very personal experience. Today we're also an aging population. And there is so little content. And it is, it's literally looking at a life cycle of a person. So what happens is when they're young enough to get online, it is this aspect of school. The school, the burdens that you feel when you're in that teen age. The study choices that literally when you break down that life cycle of people who are online, you will realize that there's actually so much to talk about. Because at every stage, because I'm talking specifically on this whole aspect, right? And when even we're much older, we have aging parents and we don't know how to deal with aspects of it. How do we create our boundaries or whatever else it is? I personally try to search, like even in healthcare, you have a patient who has a person at home with stroke, you will not find content. Dig as much as you can. And you will be surprised the number of older people that have had strokes in the last 2 years. It was unbelievable. So I think this area of, the areas that you're talking of, India has still not got enough content. Certainly not enough authenticated, credible, authoritative content. Which is also why I would say, my other advice when you're in this sort of area, don't obsess about the views. Put content that is true and good. It will be very easy for you to do, you must, your social media agency, very high chance will say, do one about Poonam Pandey's call for attention, put one video out. I think it's a bullshit piece of content. Okay, so I personally think stay true to it. It will find its voice. I think podcasts, so again, data that I know of podcasts, the podcasts that dominate India, devotional music. I don't know this, it just boggles my mind. And the difference is huge. You look at the devotional channels and then every other content. So that is one. And then this ridiculous, the stupid crime stories, and that's another big one, ghost stories. These are the things that actually dominate the podcast scene in India. So there's a lot of work in podcasts also. So please don't get me wrong. I mean, I think if you've got a good voice, not good voice as in good voice, like a authentic voice is what I mean. You must become, because we need healthcare, huge dirt. There's a huge dearth of healthcare because we ourselves worked with hospitals to create over 500 healthcare videos last year. And it's still nothing. Okay, because the disease areas are so much. I mean, if you look at the World Bank disease areas for India, there are 20 main lifestyle diseases from cardio to diabetes to pediatric, etc. And we're not even a 1%. So again, it's all the various areas, but yeah, please do it, and I'm happy to talk to you one-to-one and help you with this.
And I actually just want to add to that, and something I feel like people don't think about enough when they're creating content or building a business or building a brand. Exactly what Rajeshree said is find a gap. Like, you really need to do something that's not being done. If you're just the 100th person doing the thing that's been done 100 times, as unique as you feel your voice is, it probably isn't, because 100 people are speaking the same way. So doing the research, finding gaps in the market, I think is a good way to look at creating content. We can do one more question and then we will wrap up.
This is not really a question, but something, given that social media is my domain. Kanchan, happy to connect with you one-on-one. One thing I will tell you, there is always a need for the kind of content I know you can do. Okay, I've seen some of your videos and you're doing good work. I think you simply have to find a little bit more in terms of uniqueness. And right now it's still more of, this is what I want to say, but I think Shruti mentioned it very well when she said, package it in the way the audience would consume it. And that's the little tweak that you could do, and that could really take things forward for you.
Should we do one last question? And then, since you're the only Gen Z, I want to know what you have to say.
I was waiting for her to ask a question. So my name is Tanya, and I'm an architect and also an interior designer. So my question is that our field is more of a service based, not like a product that we build in. And talking about, as she mentioned, that it is very old school. Like, you can't bring architecture into your phones. Like, you have to feel like even like the setup has been felt, when you enter this space, you can't feel it on your phones. But again, it is how you start your business. You build your business on phones, or you want to reach out on phones. So how do you connect your your art on the screen? Like, as even she mentioned that you publish things and then they start getting reflected throughout. Like the traditional prints that has come today, like it has come today because of the publishment that is there. But how do you build it? Like how do you make it happen on the screen? Yeah, all of you. Sorry.
Do you want to take, because I'm sure you have a lot of...
So I understand, like, architecture, art forms, all of that becomes very difficult because it is something to be seen in person, to be enjoyed in the experience and all of it. But I think here, and I personally believe, and I could be wrong, but I think here where your role happens is not to kind of be again a hard sell, right? As an architect or even an artist, the idea is to evoke emotions. How do you connect with someone on that level? How do you, or that's one area. The other thing is, how are they learning something from coming to you on your platform? I think there's one lady who does it very well. I can't pronounce her name, but she does it very, very well, where she showcases her work. She does all of that, but the way she does it, there's an emotional connect between her and her followers because she's casual, she's relatable, all of that. I think we tend to forget, in a world of digital, we tend to forget that emotion still is the trump card. Say, for example, this is what, during my years when Facebook was still big, we were learning and stuff like that. Facebook started those little hearts and angry faces and all. When we used to promote our stories there, we used to see how people are reacting instead of just the like button. And that's how we decided whether this content works or not. Everything has to evoke something in you. Even if it makes someone angry, that's fine, as long as, because that's a conversation, that's a starting point. Okay, I know this made someone angry. Does it need to kind of change the way or whatever it is? So I feel if you can get that, even in an old school, traditional industry, I think there is a lot that you can play with. There's a lot of space to grow in it. And as we go into the future, technology is going to change. The way you experience things are going to change. So I think it's just going to become a very normal part of our lives. And like we will have, Apple Vision Pro to be able to see a Formula One race, for example, like we are sitting there. And it might be a future that some people want, some people don't want it, but it is the future. So, you just have to prepare yourself.
In a Facebook small community of 5 women,
Yeah.
So there is no way to deny
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
While I think it's about checking the veracity and applying
Yeah.
it to the industries and geographies where it holds.
So it's interesting you say pharma, because again, I sound very bipolar, but as I told you, I have a fairly large company, so we're doing a lot of work in healthcare. In fact, we run accelerators for YouTube in healthcare. So we're training the healthcare professionals to get online. Not only that, we work with a lot of hospitals. So one of the things is COVID was a big eye-opener of the need for good and authenticated healthcare. Google and YouTube themselves have done a lot of work. So today there's something called a health shelf globally. It's not yet in India, which is when people search for healthcare related topics, authenticated information which pass the health shelf come up, surface. In my opinion, so again, it's funny, I used to try and talk to healthcare companies 8 years ago, and I remember my first slide. After pornography, healthcare is the most searched online. But healthcare again was very slow. It's because again, so many regulations, etc. Today, there's something called Google Doctor. I mean, it's as simple as that. Everybody wants to check, any kind of disease. And I agree with you. So coming to comments not only cause any harm in healthcare, it breaks businesses. You see on Amazon your own behavior. You will look at the comments before you buy a product. Unfortunately, there is a gaming of that also that happens, which is also another thing that a lot of brands have to look at. A lot of competing brands will probably put comments which are bad for your business. and these negative comments affect you. It happens with restaurants on Zomato and this thing. So I think what's going to happen is that consumers themselves are going to have to become much more
for it, and how can you, your brand and all, stand the test of time?
I'll add to what Shruti is saying. I mean, I agree with her. I think you have to be a good storyteller at the end of the day. You know, what she's talking about, the emotion, etc. So I think that's really important. What is the story that you're telling? What is your story? The second bit is quality. I think there are a lot of content out there. There is a lot of content out there, but I think quality is really important. So even if you're putting, I don't know, like maybe 2 videos or a post or whatever it is, say maybe once a week, but that should really stand out. So I think it needs that love for sure. The third thing is, I think the space that you're in, I know you're saying it has to be physical and how you feel, but I think there's so much innovation happening there online. I mean, I mean, even on Amazon, right? Like if you want to pick up a stool, you have the 360-degree view now. It just in your living room, it shows you how it looks and things like that. So I think, I mean, the future is very bright for what you want to do.
I'm busy smiling because your field is made for the internet. So I think the person you're referring to is Sarah Shams of SCJ. She does a brilliant job. I think she shows amazing homes. She shows the emotions that when she's handing over a project, her babies are involved, and she just feels like a very real and lovely person. I don't think I will ever have her designing my home, but I still like to see what she's doing. There is another, and not for anything else, I can't afford it. When I sell out, I will. The second thing is, like, you know, there's this guy called Mahesh, who was, I think, one of Architectural Digest's young thing. I follow him because amazing stuff. Manju, who used to be the editor of AD, I've learned so much. Like from one of her posts, I got to know that all paintings don't have to be on a wall. They can even be placed along chairs and desks. So I think there's actually a lot. So food, home decor, travel are the rocking spaces for the internet, because that's where you will always come to ask. So just, you know, one of the things we also are is Tastemade in India. So Tastemade is the world's largest food, travel, and young generation video platform. So they took a stake in our company 11 years ago, and we represent them in India. Home decor is a very big part. So for example, we are currently working on a show with Amazon Live, Amazon, the selling platform, not the Prime, which is all about young people doing up their places, so budget finds on Amazon. So trust me, and I say, in fact, your place is ripe. To me, the time of, you know, that, I don't know, I think everybody comes, like I said, that what 11 years ago we started, that everyone comes to the internet with a question, still holds good.
Well, thank you. If everyone could join me in a round of applause for our amazing panelists. I think we've learned so much. We've had such an amazing conversation today. I would request the Groha team, we'll just step down for a picture. If the Groha team could join us, and the architects as well. We'd love to get a photograph. Or, sorry, I have to do this. And Dinah, if we could hand out the gifts, please. Yeah, you can just step down. Yeah. Thank you. Just wait. We'll take some pictures. So we get the Groha team. If we'll join for a picture, please. Yes. Please. Guys, please. Are we? Just hurry up. Can we?